Every second you're not producing, consuming, or scrolling, you become a threat, not to yourself, to the entire system built around you. Think about it. The moment you stop, even for a day, alarms go off somewhere. Your inactivity is the one thing they cannot monetize, and that terrifies them. You've been trained since birth to believe that rest is laziness, that stillness is failure, that doing nothing is wasting your life. But what if they lied? What if the greatest act of rebellion isn't protest, isn't revolution, isn't even speaking out? What if it's simply stopping? Today, we're going to expose why your refusal to participate is the most dangerous weapon you possess. Why entire industries spend billions making sure you never discover the power of doing nothing. And why, when you finally understand this, you'll never see your busy life the same way again. The machine needs you. Here's something economists don't want you to understand. The entire global economy is a machine that runs on one fuel, your participation. Every purchase you make, every hour you work, every ad you watch, every subscription you forget to cancel. It all feeds the beast. In 2023, global consumer spending reached $96 trillion. That's not wealth being created. That's wealth being transferred from your pocket to corporations, from your time to their profit margins. The system doesn't want you to be happy. It wants you to be hungry, and hunger is manufactured. Manufactured through advertising that tells you you're not enough, through social media that shows you what you're missing, through a culture that celebrates the grind and mocks the pause. You've been engineered to consume, to fill voids with products, to cure loneliness with purchases, to mistake activity for meaning. The machine doesn't care if you're fulfilled. It cares if you're participating. And right now, you're its most reliable component. But what happens when a component decides to stop? Manufactured urgency. Have you ever noticed how everything feels urgent? That email that could wait until Monday. That sale ending tonight. That notification demanding your immediate attention. This isn't accident. It's architecture. Corporations employ thousands of behavioral psychologists whose entire job is to make you feel like you're running out of time. FOMO, fear of missing out, isn't a personality trait. It's a manufactured emotion worth billions. Every flash sale, every limited offer, every countdown timer is designed to bypass your rational brain and trigger panic buying. The average person sees between 4,000 and 10,000 ads per day, each one whispering the same message. You need more, you need it now, you'll regret waiting. The illusion of urgency keeps you from ever questioning if you need anything at all. When you're constantly rushing, you can't think. When you can't think, you can't question. When you can't question, you just obey. If this manipulation is starting to disturb you, hit like and subscribe to keep exposing these hidden systems, because what comes next reveals how deep this really goes. The productivity cult. Hustle culture isn't motivation. It's a religion. And like all religions, it has its prophets, its commandments, and its heretics. The prophets post their 4 a.m. wake-up routines. The commandments demand you optimize every second. And the heretics, they're the ones who dare to rest. Sleep is for the weak. You've heard it. Maybe you've even believed it. But here's what they don't tell you about the productivity gurus selling you their systems. They're selling you a product. Your anxiety about not doing enough is their profit margin. The self-help industry is worth $14 billion annually. $14 billion made from making you feel inadequate, from convincing you that who you are isn't enough, but who you could become definitely is if you just buy this course. Read this book, follow this routine. Beware the barrenness of a busy life. Socrates said that 2,400 years ago. We still haven't learned. The cult of productivity doesn't want members who are complete. It wants converts who are constantly chasing completion. But here's the secret they'll never admit: the fear of stillness. In 2014, researchers at the University of Virginia conducted an experiment. They put participants in a room alone with nothing but their thoughts, and a button that would deliver a painful electric shock. The results were disturbing. 67% of men and 25% of women chose to shock themselves rather than sit quietly with their own minds. We would rather feel pain than feel nothing at all. What does that tell you about our relationship with stillness? We've been conditioned to fear our own thoughts, to fill every moment with noise, with content, with stimulation. Because in the silence, questions arise. Am I happy? Is this the life I wanted? Why do I feel so empty despite having so much? These questions are dangerous to the system. A person who stops to think might stop to change. They might realize the ladder they've been climbing is leaning against the wrong wall. They might discover that the void they've been filling with consumption was never meant to be filled at all. It was meant to be explored. And exploration requires something the economy cannot profit from: stillness. The economics of rest. Here's a truth that will make corporations uncomfortable. A rested person is a dangerous person, not dangerous in the violent sense, dangerous in the economic sense. When you're well rested, you make better decisions. You're less impulsive. You don't need that energy drink, that comfort purchase, that dopamine hit from scrolling. Rest destroys impulse buying. Studies show that sleep-deprived individuals spend an average of 20% more than well-rested ones. They're more susceptible to advertising, more likely to make emotional purchases, more likely to mistake want for need. This is why the system glorifies exhaustion, why being busy became a status symbol, why answering emails at midnight is somehow admirable while taking a nap is somehow shameful. Your exhaustion is not a badge of honor. It is a chain. The sleep industry didn't become a $76 billion market because people are sleeping well. It became that big because people are desperate for the rest they've been taught to sacrifice. The economy doesn't profit from your well-being. It profits from your lack of it. But what happens when you refuse to be depleted? The attention economy. Your attention is the new oil. And just like oil, corporations are drilling for it everywhere, all the time, without your consent. The average person spends nearly 7 hours per day looking at screens. 7 hours of your consciousness being harvested, packaged, and sold to advertisers. If you're not paying for the product, you are the product. Every app on your phone was designed by teams of engineers whose entire purpose is to make it harder for you to put down. Infinite scroll, autoplay, push notifications. These aren't features. They are extraction tools. They're mining your attention the same way drills mine the earth. And just like oil, your attention is finite and non-renewable. When you spend it watching someone else's curated life, you're not living your own. When you give it to outrage cycles and drama, you're funding someone's advertising revenue with your peace of mind. 1. Every scroll is a transaction. 2. Every like is payment. 3. Your attention has been stolen. The moment you decide where your attention goes rather than letting algorithms decide for you, you reclaim something they can never buy back. The rebellion of less. In ancient Greece, there lived a philosopher who owned nothing but a barrel and a cloak. His name was Diogenes. When Alexander the Great, the most powerful man in the world, visited him and offered to grant any wish, Diogenes replied simply, "Move, you're blocking my sunlight. Need nothing, want nothing, own nothing." Alexander later said that if he were not Alexander, he would wish to be Diogenes. The conqueror envied the man who had nothing, because Diogenes possessed something Alexander never could: freedom from want. This is the rebellion of less. It's not about poverty. It's about choosing what owns your time and what doesn't. The things you own end up owning you. Every possession demands maintenance, attention, space in your mind. Every subscription demands remembering. Every upgrade demands earning. When you choose less, you're not giving up luxury. You're giving up bondage. The minimalist isn't deprived. They are liberated. And liberation from consumption is the one freedom the system cannot survive you having. This leads us to something even more threatening: contagious freedom. Here's why your non-participation terrifies the system more than any protest ever could. It's contagious. When you step off the treadmill and nothing bad happens, people notice. When you stop chasing and start living, people ask questions. When you find peace in stillness, people wonder if they could too. Example: that's what you become. A living proof that another way exists. And proof is dangerous. Advertising works because everyone believes they need what everyone else has. Status works because everyone agrees on what success looks like. The moment someone steps outside and thrives anyway, the spell weakens. One person who refuses to participate is a curiosity. A million becomes a movement. This is why alternative lifestyles are mocked. Minimalists are called extreme, and people who prioritize happiness over wealth are labeled lazy dreamers. It is no measure of health to be well-adjusted to a profoundly sick society. The system needs you to believe there's no alternative, because the moment you see one working, you might create another, and another, until the machine runs out of willing components. The art of refusal. The most powerful word in any language isn't yes. It's no. No, I won't check my email on vacation. No, I don't need the latest model. No, I won't sacrifice my sleep for your deadline. No, I refuse to feel guilty for resting. No is a complete sentence. Every no is a vote. A vote against the culture of more. A vote for your own sovereignty. A vote that says my time, my energy, my attention belong to me. But here's what they don't teach you. Saying no is a skill, and like any skill, it atrophies without practice. We've been conditioned to say yes. To opportunities, to obligations, to offers. The word no feels selfish, feels rude, feels like closing doors. But every no to something meaningless is a yes to something meaningful. Every no to distraction is a yes to focus. Every no to the system is a yes to yourself. Start small. Say no to one thing today that doesn't serve you. Then watch what happens. Watch the discomfort. Watch it fade. Watch the freedom that grows in its place. This brings us to the final revelation, the ultimate weapon. We've arrived at the dark secret, the truth they spend billions keeping you from discovering. Your greatest weapon against a system that profits from your participation is devastatingly simple. Nothing, do nothing, not forever, not as escapism, but as choice, as rebellion, as reclamation of the self they've been mining since you were born. Sit in silence and let the discomfort wash over you until it becomes peace. All of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone. Pascal wrote that in the 17th century. 300 years later, it's truer than ever. The system cannot survive widespread stillness. It cannot profit from presence. It cannot monetize contentment. Your peace of mind is the one currency they cannot counterfeit. When you stop running, you start seeing. When you stop consuming, you start creating. When you stop doing, you start being. And being, truly being, is the most subversive act in a world that demands constant becoming. Stop and become dangerous. The machine needs you moving. What happens when you simply don't? The system told you that doing nothing was wasting your life. Now you know the truth. Doing nothing is threatening their profits. Your stillness is their crisis. Your contentment is their bankruptcy. Every moment you spend at peace is a moment you're not spending at their register. Every breath you take in silence is a breath they couldn't sell you. The greatest revolution is to simply stop participating in the madness. You don't need to protest. You don't need to fight. You don't need to change the world. You just need to stop feeding the machine that's been feeding on you. Be still, be free, be dangerous. If you made it this far, comment stillness is power to prove you're among the awakened few. The truth is never comfortable, but it's always worth knowing. History has more to teach us about those who refuse to play the game. Subscribe to discover their secrets.